The appearance of Sasha's ghost caused him fear, because now he no longer doubted the power of that spirit who returned from the tomb and united everyone, demanding a settlement of accounts and clarifying the facts. They would soon learn that Mayra was a Norobod. Iulián Sumarokov, accepting the decision of his companions, approached the prisoner and, in a last attempt to find out Christian's whereabouts, he proposed the following: "Your suffering will be eased if you tell us where my son is." Sergei, in fact, did not know his whereabouts, but he used Sumarokov's concern and, to gain time, wanting to increase his expectations as a father, and at the same time find an alibi. To protect himself and perhaps escape, he spoke insolently. "Not even death will make me tell you. He is in prison, in a place that only I know. By killing me, your son will die of hunger and cold. This is my revenge." Fists clenched, Sumarokov rushed at him, slapping him. "Calm down, Sumarokov," Alex asked. "Do not be afraid. We will find him. We will search the whole place." Area piece by piece, and turning to men who remained on guard, he ordered, "Let's go. Let's search the surrounding area. Let no den go unvisited, until we find the young man." Quickly, the men spread out, accustomed to forest, each on his own side, instigated by the Lord, looking for Christian. They wanted to do everything to please him, because many of them had worked against him and now wished to redeem themselves. While they were looking for the young man, Kostya and Alex watched the prisoner. Sumarokov, suspicious that Sergei was lying by time, had the vacancy. Intuition that his son had not reached the camp and that he could be taking advantage of this ruse to deceive them. He regretted having asked him about his son. A snake would be less treacherous, and decided to stay for all, watching him. The two comrades, Kostya and Yago, were still under the impact of the recent discovery. They were talking distractedly, as Alex Norobod's identity had not been enough to destroy the mutual sympathy. The fact that Yago was Sasha's brother formed a new bond. They felt like two blood brothers, and, by the force of destiny, all they wanted to know most was about the whereabouts of Sasha's offspring. Sergei, meanwhile, took advantage of the two's distraction and, creeping like a snake, managed to free himself. The loosely tied ropes made it easier, and, with quick, silent movements, he was ready to jump into the forest. Sumarokov, realizing the feat unexpectedly, grabbed him from behind. The two engaged in a silent hand-to-hand struggle when Sergei, using a sharp dagger hidden inside his boot, he thrust it into Sumarokov's thigh, who, in the face of the impact of the pain, he let out a muffled scream. Sergei took advantage of the carelessness and, like a hare without letting trail, disappeared into the foliage. "Catch him!" Kostya shouted, running after him. It was too late. The evildoer had disappeared. The three men, disappointed at their negligence, did not know what to say, while Sumarokov was limping from the injured leg, tried to stop the bleeding with a handkerchief, when they heard a cry. The three of them turned in the same direction and saw a woman coming out of her hiding place. It was Karine, Sergei's lover, who, terrified by her lover's escape, fearfully surrendered before he was. Discovery, or worse, she feared being alone in the woods. She wisely chose to surrender, because those men, at least, were his acquaintances. "Don't hurt me, Mr. Alex." "I surrender," he begged through abundant tears. Everyone knew his infidelity, and with such an attitude, he wished to obtain the approval of his master. 39. Karine's testimony. Not all was lost. Karine could be useful to them, Kostya thought. Sergei's lover, who begged for mercy. He should have been aware of everything on the night of his daughter's birth. Perhaps there was the answer I so longed for. Meanwhile, some men returned from the forest empty-handed. They had found nothing, no trace of Christian. They had barely arrived when they were ordered to look for Sergei, who couldn't be far away. "This woman must be aware of her lover's shenanigans," shouted one of the men who arrived. Karine, lost, with no one to help her, a cunning and mean spirit, tried to dodge, wanted to save her skin. She would never tell that she was a palace spy, taking the news to her lover. Conversations I heard behind closed doors. "You asked for mercy, Karine. I will give it to you. However, on one condition. that you tell me the truth. The whole truth about the night of my niece's birth. In short, her whereabouts. Nothing tells me. Hide, said Alex complacently, wanting to resolve the painful issue quickly. The intriguing Karine had no alternative but to tell what she knew. Don't lie or admit, I want the truth, only the truth, demanded the boss, reading in. Your green eyes your infidelity. Okay, I'll tell you everything I know, but I'll tell you in advance that it won't go beyond what you already know, Mr. Alex, said Karine, understanding the seriousness of the moment, which did not allow for her lies. She feared the future difficulties, as he felt that his lover would never return there. He immediately set about narrating everything that, knew and thus save his own skin. He began to narrate in a hoarse and trembling voice. In the early morning of the tragedy, the plan was to kill Sasha's daughter as soon as she was born, an order that Mr. Norobod had given to Sergei, who, if he had had the chance, would have fulfilled it in its entirety. However, it escaped his control that day, because before executing the evil plan, Nastasia, Sasha's nurse, learned of the severe order and, terrified by the news, told the young woman the plan before, that the baby be taken from her. They had to act quickly, and she decided at Sasha's request to save the child, at any cost, risking their own lives. They fixed everything so quickly that when they realized, due to the child's absence, the nurse had already gone far away, there was a great commotion. No one knew for sure how she achieved this feat alone, evading strict surveillance. The escape was discovered. Norobod placed. Some men were chasing Nastasia, who certainly couldn't be far away. The girl was caught, but in her arms was only the simulacrum of a baby. A bundle of cloths deceived them. Blinded by anger because of this, Mr. Norobod ordered her to be barbarously executed. After cruel interrogation, it was just another victim of Norobod and Sergei's evil deeds. The child had disappeared, and the brave. The nurse preferred death to telling who had given the baby to, so no one on the farm knew what happened to her, and many said she was stillborn. I suspect that someone smarter than her stole that night and tried to keep quiet forever. That's all I know. I don't think anyone else might tell you something beyond this. The story left them perplexed. Alex could not believe his father's wickedness, which left him distressed and ashamed before Kostia. The brave revolutionary had so much hatred pent up that he remained silent, respecting Alex's pain, understanding the differences in character between father and son. The emptiness, however, remained. How much pain was hidden in Kostia's eyes. Sumarokov, who listened attentively to the story, he also knew a bit of it, drawing his own conclusions, but he couldn't say anything. He deduced that the note, which he kept in his chest in his pocket, might have been from Nastasia, who, by chance, could say that his girl was the innocent child. The single fact of resemblance was not enough to say they were mother and daughter. He remained silent, paying attention. Much attention, willing to keep his secret, keeping the promise by his wife's bedside. Dying. 40 Sasha does not rest. However, this was not what the spirit of Sasha desired. She would not rest until the truth was not discovered. His spirit would not find peace. He needed to calm down and return to sidereal planes of its evolution, together with those who protected it and ardently desired its upliftment. The indestructible spark of which the spirit is made should fulfill its mission, and whose end is approach for her joy. Her little daughter, beautiful and innocent, would still have to discover her true origin, despite the fear of the one who worshipped her, willing to die with the oath he had made to her beloved dying wife. Sumarokov ardently wished to forget that Mayra had not belonged by right. He alone, among the living, knew the truth and could testify to it, clearing up the misunderstanding. The specter illuminated its path, sending shivers down Sumarokov's spine. Closing his eyes, he fell silent, fearful. Once released, Karine looked around, seeking shelter. Her mischievous eyes now, they pleaded, "Don't abandon me. I beg you, Mr. Alex. Readmit me to service. I have nowhere else to go." She humbled herself, kneeling. "I promise you my fidelity, and I will pay you with my work, the roof, and The bread begged Karine, who, seeing herself abandoned, at that moment adopted the most appropriate attitude. Intelligent, an excellent actress, her tears seemed sincere. Fulfilling the agreement, due to the narrative, Alex offered her a ride. She would return to the farm. Perhaps it would be useful for her to keep it. Oh, the remaining employees were equally remorseful and spontaneously apologized, with the lord of the lands, promising him total fidelity. Taking advantage of that moment of support and decisions, Alex spoke loudly. Comrades, what happened these days will not happen again, at least in my lands, because here there will be equal rights for workers and decent pay for each person's efforts. Servitude is over. You are free to decide your destiny. Here, no one should feel ashamed of. Express true desires. I have been waiting for this reckoning for a long time. Apparently, Sumarokov and Karosky bore witness to their loyalty to the cause. Turning to both, Mudjolks extended his arm towards them and declared, I appoint you new managers to whom all must show obedience and respect. Everyone will have their own homes and, from now on, will buy their own food. With the effort of one's own work and production of each one will be worthily paid according to the income. The children will attend school. No peasant son in my lands will leave the study to accompany their parents to work. I will ensure that the illiterate are educated. Our Russia needs cultured and hardworking men. Let us begin to plant here a new era of honesty and work, forgetting the crimes perpetrated on this property. Let us change our destiny in the soil of Mother Russia, whom we love so much, will be blessed, driving away hunger and the misery that the winter of the insurrection threatens. Come on, comrades. All forward. Warm applause and shouts enveloped the small group, and, singing, they returned to their homes as if had defeated the monster of infamy. They seemed to have forgotten about young Christian, because the moujiks returned from searching for hands. Empty. Sumarokov had decided to go further, despite his injured leg. He wrapped the wound with a handkerchief, stained with blood he had found, and then went into the forest while the others were returning. He rode to the fields of crops that stretched out of sight. Perhaps his son was lost. After riding for a few minutes, he felt a supernatural force taking him in another direction. After more than an hour, he found himself near the hut where, on a freezing dawn, had found a baby shivering from the cold. The abandoned hut was a little more run down, being slowly destroyed by time. In the middle of the scrubland that preceded the sunflower plantations that were lost on the slope. Something that escaped his senses had led him there. Curious, he approached. The silence was total. All that could be heard was the trotting of the animal as it furrowed the earth covered in ashen branches. Dry. That place seemed haunted. No one liked to go near it. So it was, little frequented. He got off his horse and went in. Someone had fallen. The roof was about to collapse, served only as a home for venomous animals. The cave where he had found Mayra was still. There, a sign that no one else had been there. The place caused discomfort and fear. A dry noise. Coming from inside the hut frightened Sumarokov, who didn't know whether to retreat or advance. He was paralyzed, waiting. The noise continued, though timidly, as if some animal were trapped and wanted to get free. The man, determined to see what would happen, heard a groan coming from interior. What happiness! It was Christian, trying to shake off the cobwebs. The young man, seeing his father, he shouted with emotion and relief. Papacha, Papacha. Christian, my son, how did you end up here? Sumarokov helped him get rid of the cobwebs that stuck to his fur coat. Come, son, let's get out of this dark place, he said, dragging him. He looked around and saw nothing. Where's your horse, Christian? Don't even imagine it, Dad, they robbed me. What did they rob you? That idiot Sergei. I left him there. Luckily, he didn't see me. I hid while he ran away. He looked like a madman. Just thinking about what might have happened to Christian if Sergei had seen him. Sumarokov breathed a sigh of relief. Damn the horse. The important thing was that his son was safe and sound. Relieved, the father said, let him follow his destiny, because the very demons he conquered with his crimes We'll take care of him. Sumarokov looked around and added, "Fortunately, he didn't see you. Let's go. From here, son, this place brings back many memories. The important thing is that I found you. Katienka must be very worried." Father and son rode the same animal, and Christian asked, "Why, my father, does this place bring back so many memories for you?" Sumarokov, changing the subject, smiled, looking first at the hut, a nest of poisonous animals and crows, and then answered him, "These are things of destiny, like me finding you here today. Strength's question that only time and life will be able to answer us. Let's go." Christian, not understanding his father's allusion, looked at the old hut. It seemed that his happiness, his scalp tingled all over. Ah, what a strange feeling. See, Papacha, how I have goosebumps all over. This place, too, brings back many memories, even though I've never been here before. Strange. I ended up here, guided by a light. I now realize it was night, and without that light, I would never have arrived here in the shelter. These are things, Christian, that cannot be explained, but they happen. Let's get back to you soon. Both left immediately, with the sole desire to calm those who remain in anticipation of the search. How anxious and apprehensive Mayra and Katienka must have been. Fortunately, everything was over. Good. 41 in the izba of the enclosure. At the farm, when Christian and Iulián arrived, there was general joy. Mayra, thrilled, went to welcome them. So great was her desire to embrace them that she went ahead of everyone, followed by Katienka, equally happy. The girl didn't see a stone, tripped over it, fell, and hurt herself. Everyone ran to help her. The attention and interest that the young girl aroused increased the jealousy of Sasha, the daughter of Sonia, who always felt left out. With an impulsive temperament like her mother, Sasha bit her lips in anger and her face darkened. Sonia, who knew her daughter, said to her, "It's always like this, Sasha. Everyone's attention is drawn to this poor brat who, full of Dengo, take our place. Your grandmother could well understand that she cannot forget. Own granddaughter to give affection to an employee's daughter." The mother's words, in a way, consoled the jealous girl, but they could not, to quell his anger and spite. That girl was always getting in his way. He looked to the sides and saw Nicolau, who did not share much of the attention given to Mayra. In a corner, watched the scene with an enigmatic smile. "Your sister always steals the best scene, don't you think?" Sasha insinuated mischievously. "I don't understand what you're talking about. Sasha, explain yourself better," Nicolau said. "Don't act naive, Nicolau. Your little sister is very affectionate. A simple stumble causes a commotion around her. No one else notices anyone. Only she has grandma's attention. And everyone's." "Ah," Nicolau replied, without giving him any reason. The young girl came closer to him and whispered, "This business about seeing spirits, I think it's very stupid on her part. Do you really think that everything is true?" Nicolau's black eyes shone playfully. He looked at his companion, raising one of his thick eyebrows that shaded his gaze, making him more handsome. Red mouth, contracted and showing some annoyance, as he did not like to go into details about the communications from the spirits that had been circling Mayra, firmly responded with a new question. "You happy face, what is your intention in raising a question that only concerns my parents, to Professor Dmitri, who is researching my sister and the phenomena that occur to her? What's your problem, Sasha?" Without hiding his annoyance, unable to get the conversation to take the desired direction, Sasha changed his technique, feeling that Nicolau was defending his sister. "No, don't be upset, Nicolau. I was just doubting certain facts. You shouldn't believe in things that cannot be seen and only she sees. She could be lying, making things up. I don't know what. I consider this a big scam, a way to get attention, and she succeeds because everyone is. Melt because of this, even my father." Unable to hide his envy, Nicolau did not feel inclined to attack his sister, who had never offended him. Between the two of them, there had been difficulties in the relationship, differences that with age and understanding went to falling apart. The boy had formed an opinion on the matter and secretly wished to better understand what was happening to his sister and thus improve his relationship with her. "Excuse me, Sasha. I'll see if you need my help." Saying this, he left the young woman and ran to the group that was helping the sister. Sasha's look expressed great disappointment, and inside her, he shouted, "This girl interferes too much in my world." Sumarokov carried Mayra in his arms into the izba. It wasn't anything serious, but it was necessary to urgently stop the blood that was gushing profusely from his knee. Christian ran, rushed to his father's side. He hadn't even managed to hug his sister. After settling her on the bed, Karyenka brought a basin of salt water and began to apply it to her. Gently apply a cloth soaked in brine, to wound until the bleeding stops. "Oh, Dad, I took away the joy of your arrival. We were so excited. Fortunately, my love, everything ended well. Here we are all together, thanks to God and the brave Kurosky," and Sumarokov began to narrate details of the capture until the liberation. "I want you to tell me everything, Christian, because you have caused us so much concern. I have never prayed so much in my life for someone." Smiling, Mayra joked, showing her white teeth. You owe me this." At this moment, an unexpected visitor entered Iulián Sumarokov's house. It was Kostya who arrived together with Alex Norobod. Attracted by the incident, Kostya looked around. The izba had undergone many modifications. It was in that little house that he and Sasha met, hidden from prying eyes, settled into comfortable chairs. The two men wanted to speak with Sumarokov, and they wanted to know if their daughter needed new care. Kostya had not yet seen his friend's daughter. "Welcome, comrades," Yellen exclaimed with satisfaction. "What an honor I have in welcome them into my poor izba." The visitors didn't even pay attention to his modest words, embracing him with emotion. "We need to celebrate the liberation, our two victories," said Alex. "How's Mayra?" "We didn't get there in time to help her, but Mom must be coming with her mobile pharmacy." "Wait," he joked playfully. The small room was full when Mrs. Norobod entered, carrying a basket of medicines in hand. As the woman entered, Alex barely saw her and began to smile, completing his jocular observation. Didn't I say? You said what, my son?" asked Mrs. Norobod without understanding. Taking the basket from his mother's hands, Alex replied, "That you would come with this basket full of medicines. In fact, enough for a battalion." Unconcerned with her son's prank, Mrs. Norobod quickly entered the room to see Mayra. Kostya, too, driven by an impulse, accompanied her, wanting to help. The girl lay there, her wheat blonde hair spread out on the pillow. The dim light in the room highlighted her fair complexion, and her blue eyes radiated an intense luminosity. Kostya looked at her for a moment, held his breath, and when he managed to come back from his surprise, gave a muffled whisper, "My God, Sasha!" Mechanically, old Norobod turned to him, looking him up and down, seeming recognize him. However, she could not remember from where. "What are you saying?" she asked in astonishment. Kostya began to cry. "It's the living portrait of my Sasha." Mrs. Norobod was also moved because she saw this great similarity, and it was. That's exactly why he became so attached to the girl. And now that stranger came once again to confirm the great similarity. The presence of that girl had come to fill the void in his life, to brighten his existence, and to lessen the longing for her. "Dear Sasha." "Your Sasha?" asked Kostya, frightened. "Don't you remember me, Mrs. Norobod?" "Of course. It's been so many years since everything happened." Astonished, Mrs. Norobod waited for him to continue speaking, trying to recognize him, but nothing came to mind. At that moment, Kostya or Vladimir was too emotional and choking to express himself. Karyenka watched the scene without understanding anything. Mayra, equally surprised, she followed him in silence, and Karyenka, respectful at her side, also waited to see the outcome of that matter. "Everyone thought I was dead. I'm Vladimir Anton Borowski, your daughter's boyfriend." Mrs. Norobod fainted under the impact of the news. Being supported by Vladimir, the room was small and stuffy. With Karyenka's help, she was taken into the living room and sat on a chair